Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I'm doing some cooking here today out of Mom's old cookbook and writings, and there's a particular cookie that I'm going to make for you guys. Now, this cookie was considered the way I remember it, was considered a wintertime cookie. It was a cookie that was typically made between December and March. Some people made it as a holiday cookie, but I just remember it more as a wintertime cookie. And it was basically made with molasses and dried fruit, and it's called Lebkuchen. And Lebkuchen, like I said, was a very common cookie around here when I was a kid growing up until I was probably about 12 years old. All the old Germans made some variation of Lebkuchen. Now, Mom has a Lebkuchen recipe here, and it's actually labeled Old Lebkuchen Recipe. And the original recipe in the book here is huge. It calls for a quart of molasses and 4 cups of brown sugar. It's just a massive recipe. But then Mom actually has it quartered down to where it's a little bit more I guess manageable. You can make a smaller batch, and then it's got some side notes on it here. And I'm going to read this to you. It says 1 cup of sour cream, and when they wrote sour cream, that could have been sour milk too, which is basically just milk with a little bit of vinegar in it, and you let it set for a little bit to sour it. That was basically universal back and forth. It's got 1 cup of sour cream, 1 cup of molasses, 1 teaspoon of soda, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 egg, and then a quarter-pound each of raisins, currants, nuts, or mixed fruit. And then in the original recipe, it's this is where one of the interesting things on it is it says grind all fruits and nuts to a paste. And then after that, it's got flour to stiffen, and then 1 teaspoon each of ground cloves, allspice, and nutmeg. And then it's got a frosting for the recipe, which says 1 egg and 1/3 cup of powdered sugar, beat together, and then brush on top of unbaked cookies, and then bake at 375 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. And then the side note that it's got on here, it says, next time I'm going to make this with a quarter-pound of citron. And citron is another type of dried fruit that would be available, especially like they have it over at the Amish and the bulk food stores, but it would be available at Christmas time. And I remember this being made 2 different ways. One, they would roll it out and they would use cookie cutters to cut it. And then there was sort of a time-saving way that they would do it, and that's the way that I'm going to do it. They would take a little wax paper, put it in a bread pan. They would put the cookie dough in that. They would kind of press it in, form it in. They would chill that for a couple of hours, and then they would just actually slice that into basically squares, and that's how they would bake it. And then that saved them the time of rolling it out and using the cookie cutter. So I'm going to do the quarter recipe batch here for you guys, see how it turns out, and show you guys what an old Lebkuchen recipe looks like. All right, guys, I got my starting ingredients in the bowl here so I can make you guys this Lebkuchen recipe. And what I got in the bowl here, I got a cup of molasses, a cup of brown sugar, and a cup of sour cream. I had enough sour cream in my refrigerator, so I'm using sour cream in this recipe. But you certainly could use a soured milk as well, and then 1 egg. And one thing that I think is comical about these old recipes when I read them, they have in this recipe, again, enough flour to make a stiff dough, or to stiffen the batter, or some wording like that. And they take for granted that people reading these recipes knew their way around a kitchen a little bit and knew how to make this stuff. But don't you guys worry, I'm going to write down all the ingredients that I used in this recipe in the description for you guys, so you can make this for yourself if you decide to do so. And what I got here is the spices that it called for. I got a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a teaspoon of ground allspice, and then a half a teaspoon of ground cloves. The original recipe there called for a teaspoon of ground cloves. I'm not a big clove guy, so I cut that in half for this particular recipe. And then I have the ground dried fruit and nuts here into a paste. I just put this through the grinder. I used a a quarter pound of raisins. I used a quarter pound of walnuts, and I used a quarter pound of it was a mixed fruit blend. It was golden raisins, dried cherries, and dried cranberries. And then I put in some about a quarter pound of dried pineapple, and I ground that all together and I made that into a paste. And when I got this whisked together, I'm going to add this in. I'm going to add my spices in, my soda, and then I'm going to put enough flour in to make a stiff dough and get this in a bread pan so I can refrigerate it for a little bit, and then slice it up and bake it for you guys. Here is what the Lebkuchen dough looks like in a bread pan with some greased wax paper so I can pop this guy out after it chills for a couple of hours. I put 3.5 cups of flour is what I ended up putting into this recipe to get the dough to the consistency that I wanted it. I mixed together my molasses, sour cream, egg, sugar mixture. Then I added the spices and the dried fruit paste into it. The dried fruit paste didn't really want to cooperate with me, so I ended up using the electric mixer to beat everything and get everything sort of uniform before I added the flour and the soda. Now I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator for probably at least 3 hours so it chills good. Then we're going to try to pop it out of there and slice it up, and save ourselves a little bit of time of rolling it out. And when I'm ready to get the first batch in the oven, I'll come back to you guys. Here's what the Lebkuchen look like after they were in the refrigerator for 3 hours in that loaf pan. Then I tipped the loaf pan out on the cutting board with another piece of wax paper underneath it, and then I took a wetted kitchen knife and I sliced off the rectangles and put them on sheet pans with a little bit of foil. Now I'm going to glaze them with an egg that's been beaten with 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. It says to brush this mixture on top of them and then bake them for 12 to 15 minutes in a 375-degree oven. So I'm going to get that going here, and when they're done, I'm going to show you what a finished one looks like. All right, guys, the cookies are done, and I'm having a little snack here with my tea. Try some of these guys out for you. Now, I divided them in half as I was taking them off the pan because they are pretty large, and you can see the chunks of the ground up fruit and nuts inside these cookies. So they're similar to a I guess what you would call either a date cookie or a fig cookie, where it has that sort of pasty filling inside of it. You have pieces of that distributed throughout the cookie. Now you can leave these plain, or you can frost these. I frosted some as well, and with the nutmeg and the allspice in it, it's got sort of those warming spices. So with something like hot tea or something, these go really, really good. And here's one that's frosted I'm gonna try out for you guys. They got the sweetness of the fruit, and they got the warming spices. They're sweet, but they're not super sweet, which is kind of good, and they've got a very chewy texture. So just an old school cookie here that was made in the wintertime with the stuff that the old timers had. I thought I'd make it for you guys here on this cold and blustery day. But anyways, Modern Refugee, appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information, a little entertainment, another idea again, as always, out of my videos, and you guys have a good one.